That's what we have to help this young brother out because we need to be talking to the youth about the failures of black society and their plan versus a specific type of plan that he can follow himself because it's got to be very lost for some reason. All right, I want to thank y'all for coming through. Let me know if you can hear me very clearly in the chat. All right. So this is the problem. And I'm glad that I'm getting more and more emails from far and far younger people, to be quite honest, because they can see the stuff as well as I see it. The manosphere was not about views. The manosphere was about private practice. Private practice. It didn't matter who you listened to. Didn't matter about the people, the personalities who come through here. The real work is going on behind the scenes after the live stream is cut off, after the day is over. The things that you think about going forward in the future. That's where the real manosphere is at. But you have to realize that when people came to take over what they thought was the manosphere and take it into an entertainment style direction, they based their style and direction fully upon the individuals who were incapable of moving forward. That was the plan. The plan was to join a concept that you didn't believe in, invite people into a concept that you didn't care about, and sabotage the entire mission from beginning to end. But see, you are a young guy, and you know this at 18 years old. And the best thing and the best advice I could give to an 18-year-old right now is I was unprepared too. Raised by sharecroppers and truck drivers and people who did home health services and all that kind of stuff. None of those people had any type of experience with the military, corporate America, all the things that I was going to be able to face going forward. But see, there are two types of foundations that you get to choose as a guide. You get the foundation that was assigned to you by the people within the environment, and then you get the actual chance to start making choices for yourself moving forward. That's where the true foundation is. Because of a lot of people have the ability to stagnate at the bottom. You think they're at the top, but they're actually at the bottom. Until you go out and get a basic skill. And then you wonder why, how come all these people who are community minded, how come they didn't focus their abilities on basic skills to compete against people in corporate America? That's where it first started for me. Talking about a guy left home very early, 17 years old. And nothing that was a part of my psyche was based on the simple fact that I had to get the respect of the counterpart within the environment before I felt like a man. I felt like a man way before that. I felt like a man being a statistician for multiple teams because I had an eye for things that they didn't, and I was telling the truth. I told the same type of truth that the actual people in the news media told, and I wasn't trying to play sides. I was just trying to tell the story as it was. And no matter how much money that I was given, I wouldn't change the numbers. So you as a young guy, you have to understand that failure is normal within Black America. It's very normal. What other place can you get street guys, guys who claim to be former criminals, guys who don't have any other skill set except for to try to scam other people out of money, unfeminine women that everybody want to base their actual masculinity out of? Like, how do you think that you can get all of these things together in one place if the overall result is not failure and stagnation for you? You're a young guy. By the time I was your age, I was probably coming back from Germany to Aurora, Colorado, stationed at Buckley Air Force Base. That's where I was. And I had to do a hell of a lot of growing up in those 3 years. Growing up to the point to where I felt lost moving forward. I felt lost because there was not anybody there to guide me even further to the top. It was a cultural fallacy that I would be able to make it out of that environment. It's how you feel. It was a cultural fallacy that I had to realize that going and get better experiences would be able to realign myself in a new type of framework, other worse failures. That's what happened. I know you feel lost. I know you feel alone. I know you feel like you can't trust anybody. I had the same problem. Most of the older men that I met, all the other places where I went and where I've been, they are no different than the people that you meet within Black YouTube right now. A great majority of them let a lot of nonsense happen within the background while they acted like they was at the top of the ticket and the card within their own life. it took me a while to realize that I was just on the same level that they were. But there was a lot of talk, a lot of socialization from different races of people that everybody wanted to make themselves seem and think like they were a hell of a lot ahead than they actually were. The only thing that broke through that actual vision was the simple fact that I was here as I started this journey at 17 years old, and they ended up on this journey at 28 or 29 years old. What you're feeling is what you're supposed to feel once you start moving up the ladder. The noise is the loudest at the bottom. But the moment you start moving up the ladder without normalizing and bringing those people behind as a normal part of your culture moving forward, you're going to start hearing less and less noise as you move up. Things are going to go from the theoretical and the unresearched to things that you definitely have to be specific about. There's nothing wrong with you. There was something wrong with the people that you were around. When you tell people about what you're doing in life, it shames them because what you're telling them is that they have failed in their life and they'll never tell you. They would never tell you that all you had to do is leave two or three specific things alone and move forward beyond these circumstances. You will have a greater outcome than everybody else that is currently stuck here. The problem is, you and your circumstances, you were never supposed to know that until you ruined your life, until you pretended like you were something that you wasn't. So that way, another person within the actual society can come and cannibalize you and your caterpillar phase before you turn into a butterfly. Most of the people that you were raised around were caterpillar eaters. And within the society to where you was raised and I was raised as well, the failures stagnate at the bottom. They are nowhere near the top. I used to think about and wonder why on earth did all those people who made it out of this community and moved to other places in life, how come they didn't come back to tell us about it? Because they would be risking too much to come to a specific set of circumstances to let you know about things that were already your responsibility. It was already your responsibility to do better than these people. It was already part of your responsibility to take school seriously. It was already part of your responsibility. And I know that you feel alone. You want the pain to end. It's easy to go out there and do all that stuff that those other people did to define themselves in the same circumstances. But see, you're not going to do that. Most things in life is quite naturally based on the amount of trouble that you keep yourself out of, the amount of people who you stay away from, how much knowledge you know about a bad situation, but zero experience by going through said circumstances, even with better information. You see, that was their plan for you. Their plan for you was to be the next iteration of their failure before you decided to plan on your own outside of time. They're pretty much trying to validate their own experiences by getting you to practice their things within society and life. They don't have any experience with a problem free lifestyle. They have no experience with that. This is why they're trying to guide you specifically into their failures so that way they can laugh at you the moment that those things don't work out. And this is why you felt helped by these people, but you was not actually helped because actual help comes with a track record. It comes with a specific path of where you were, where you're going, and what's the end goal. If you are paying attention to these people who are around you, who are failures within the environment to where they are, they're trying to get you to be able to take over, holding the world on their shoulders like the myth of Atlas. That's what they're trying to do for you. That's the plan that they have for you. So what you have to recognize yourself that the alone feeling that you're feeling right now is something that you're gonna have to get used to. I'm not sure what's going on with that, Roosevelt. I have no idea. So you have to understand that it's okay to feel alone, but you have to understand that being alone is where the most growth happens. A lot of people don't want you to think that being alone is where the most growth happens because most of this stuff is about private practice within your life. This is when I realized that everything changed for me. The moment that I could be honest with the simple fact that I had no skills to be able to give the other corporations to get the lifestyle that I wanted, even though I was probably doing fugitive recovery at the time. On those long trips, cross states, looking for people, you know how it is. There's a ton of YouTube channels about that now. But that's how it was back then. Feast or famine. Some days you can catch three, four people, five, six people a week, and sometimes you can go a couple months without receiving anything. And once I realized that I had to get away from that sort of circumstance because I didn't want to be dependent on crime and people not showing up to court and skipping their bail for me to actually be able to make money in society and life, even though it's an honest lifestyle. Only thing you got to do is just be honest and upfront with people. You get a track record, and boom. Like most of the bigger people who was doing it, they just showed up. They didn't really want to lock anybody up. They showed up, and that was it. It wasn't as big of a fight that you thought it was, because the bigger fight was the track record. The track record is the bigger fight. The trouble you stay out of is the bigger fight. The not trying to do mistakes better in the future, that's the bigger fight. Yeah. The only thing is, we got the same amount of experience. It's just that I experienced a hell of a lot more at the front end of my life, and most people don't have any of the actual experience until the back end of their life. If you live long enough, you're going to still have the same amount of experiences. It's just that when you experience it and for what reason. What's going on, Ike? But this is their plan for you. Their plan for you is to hide all of the mines on the minefield and hand you a blank map and tell you to walk straight forward to the end of the actual map, knowing that you're going to hit so many landmines on the way to the end of that map that you're going to forever need their help. Like, this is what most older individuals in this space are setting you up for. They are really setting you up for the simple fact that the only way that you can feel like a man is that you do their mistakes better. If you dealt with the same type of women that they dealt with, that you can get a better result out of them. This is why you don't feel like a success even though you've made progress, because you are inundated with failures around you within society and life. And most of those people look just like you. You haven't even went through some of the things where you have to hand off or even expected to give off some of your money that you've earned to actually help these people with their situations that they can dodge, only to see years later, sometimes decades later, those people haven't even learned the primary function of surviving alone without these circumstances around. But that's their plan for you. Even though your parents were decent, your dad wasn't all that great because he was getting bossed around by his mother. Like, having a man in the home isn't going to solve every problem. Most of these dudes in this space, even if they had access and custody to their kids, they still never would have produced a better outcome for their children because they haven't learned the actual lesson in society and the environment. But see, you're seeing this at 20. You're seeing that, man, I got to reach out. I got to talk to somebody. There are things that I'm seeing, and I feel like I've already maxed out where I'm at. A lot of people don't want to admit that they maxed out where they're at. But see, you're already seeing it as a young guy. You're already seeing that there's no way that I can leverage or even scale this type of situation. I can't scale this into anything else. There are too many failures around here. And the moment that I made any type of progress, I'll be cannibalized with the same people within the environment. That's the exact same way I felt and I experienced. But you have to realize that where you're at is going to be something that's going to hurt a lot of people. It's the reflection of failure. Like, your reflection is their reflection in a cracked mirror. They can't see it. They don't want to understand that the child that we prepared to take over our failures and to absolve us for failing on our own time, that didn't work. He went on to do better things. And that's what this shared information within this space called the Manosphere is for and about. That's for the super chat, Roosevelt. Yeah, shout out to everybody who's showing up. Make sure you like the video. But we got to stop thinking that we need to be here trying to make sure that unfeminine women and forgettable people pay for their sins of the past. That's not going to do anything for you, man. That's not going to do a damn thing for you. It's entertaining. I'm not going to get it wrong, but those people have built their lives based on the same failed principle that that person actually went through. You got to see it now. It's not going to change. It's just going to compound itself. But that's their plan for you. Their plan for you is to be the next culture warrior within Black America who's actually going to take over the failures of the past and keep roaming these people in the desert for 40 years. That's what they want for you. If they are so much past these problems, how come there's no demonstrable proof of such? So much proof to where you can look to other cultures and societies and actually see that the things that you're practicing within your life is somehow different from the things that people are practicing within their lives. You're right, Need Disky, you're right. There are people who living in like one of the first people who I helped was a guy. He was 21 years old. No, he was 20 when I helped him 21 years ago. I mean, in 3 years, that guy saved his money, bought a house within West Texas, bought enough land, 60 acres. Now he does trucking during the summer and farming of some things in greenhouses during the winter. That dude's all the way off the market, not even dealing with this stuff, doing better than 100% of the people within his family. Even though came from a failed household, nobody in his actual household graduated from high school, none of that stuff. And he still was able to make it way out of that situation with his own productivity, working just as hard as he would have worked at a restaurant or any other physical labor job. He was just doing truck driving, and that guy saved up the amount of money to get himself out of that situation. Sometimes what your parents go through is the best thing that they can do in those situations. But that's not the plan for you, though. The plan for you is to make every experience that you possibly have a referendum on the way that you were raised, the thing that you was seen, and the things that you personally experienced or seen other people experience. You're not supposed to find the best options at the bottom. You're not supposed to have a rotation of failure around you to validate your masculinity. The things that you do not end up putting yourself into is supposed to be your masculinity. The amount of principle that you practice within an actual society or environment is supposed to be your masculinity. But it's okay to feel way out of place if you're the only person practicing it and no one else cares about it. You have to realize, young guy, the reason why they don't want you to know that you're far ahead of them because they don't want you to notice the power that comes with it. Without even knowing it, you was building your own power. Without even knowing it, you were distancing yourself from said failure to create a new reality for yourself. Those people cannot handle that. The reason why they can't handle that is because you cheated them out of the ability to mislead you directly into the failures of their past. It's okay to feel bad where you're at. It's okay to feel bad that you're the first person alone. Graduated with my associates, 500 people there. Graduated with my bachelor's, maybe 150 people there. Graduated with my master's, maybe 15 or 20 people there. And had I would have went to my doctorate, there would have been only 4 people who would have graduated that class. The farther you go up, the less you're going to see these people. So why would you want to start climbing with so much baggage on your back to where you'll never be able to take the first step? They know this. Yeah, I had to face a lot of criticism. Being a young guy around a bunch of older dudes, sometimes 18, 15 years older than I was. And here I was in the same situation that they was in, being able to outshine. You're going to face that a lot. You got to be comfortable with that. But one thing that you cannot do is turn around and give these circumstances back to the people who never respected it in the first place. That's what they're expecting you to do. This is why they know that they've sabotaged your self-esteem to the point to where you're going to be doing all the damage to yourself, trying to put yourself around these people who don't belong in your life. They already know that. What's going on, Red Pill Finance? But at the end of the day, you've been socialized out of choice. Just like I was. After my father died and grandfather died and falling back into that community that we ended up in because of not having life insurance, that's what it was. I couldn't see myself as being more than the guy who was respected by women within the same environment. Until I actually started paying attention to the people who actually graduated high school. And I recognized the respect of unfeminine women don't really mean something if you can't produce. It don't really mean anything if you can't move forward. It doesn't really mean anything. What's going on, Black Torch? So you got to recognize is that is what their plan was for you. Their plan was for you to repeat their mistakes so that way they wouldn't have to take onus nor responsibility of the things that they've done in their life and never felt any type of consequences for it. This is why it's up to you to move forward without them. Because what you don't understand is they moved forward without you before you were born. They decided that guys like you would never get any power within the environment. Why? We're going to overflood this place with failure so that way guys like yourself at 20 can feel like you're a failure because you don't have the respect that the street guys has with the unfeminine woman within the environment. Yeah, that's what it is. So that way, if you keep the street guy within high regard, if you keep the black male failure within high regard, you're not going to feel out of company by having these people around because see these people have lost their ability to produce. Their ability to produce is based on you never seeing the full ramifications of productivity within your own life, even though they forewent it in their own life. You have to recognize that you at 20 are far better than I was when I exited the military at 22. You're in a far better position, a far better position. But see, you're already succeeding and you don't feel like you succeeded in anything. But you have to recognize what you're not to surrender to other people who can benefit from it. A guy would come up to you, see your actual situation, and they would think that you need to suffer some type of downfall because of your goodness that you display within the society. Make sure that happens. All the other failures within society. Because all these people are hiding the same secret. They just don't want you to feel that way. They don't want you to feel powerful unless they are going to be benefiting from that power. They know what the level of productivity and not sharing with them what type of power that is. They know that. The only thing they want you to do more than anything else in society is not try because you trying humiliates them. You asking questions about things that they've never done humiliates them. The things that you have access to as a young guy in terms of opportunity, even in that state, humiliates them. So, in order to bury their own failures, they would bury your own future along with it because they don't want to feel like they are a failure. When immigrants come here, it's very rare that most of those people in the first generation even make it to the top of America at all. But those kids, no matter what, they're taught everything about the things within society when it comes to success and failure. So even though they may have worked at bakeries or worked in a factory for $5 or $6 an hour, whatever, their kids are far more productive than they are because they gave their life's experience to their kids by the time they was 18 years old. You was not given that. The manosphere was supposed to give that to you. That's what the manosphere was supposed to do. The original mission of the manosphere was to save people a lot of time. So that way you can see the guys who are getting their stuff together versus the guys who are bragging on swag and game. It was supposed to give you two sides of the same coin to show you through time how much spending your time on something specific was supposed to give you time equity back once you got your stuff together. But see, they wanted to cheat you of that by creating a society and an environment where the respect of some people who don't even respect you at all is the top level of masculinity within the environment. You have to recognize most of these people online that you see within the manosphere, they are either one percenters or 98 percenters. There is no in between. It's either they got out of the situation early enough to where they didn't face the consequences of the older individuals, or they were the new older individuals who practiced all the stuff at a young age that the older individuals gave, but they are too out there to tell you about it. That's their plan for you. The sick and perverted game of Groundhog Day is what they wanted to do. Because when they were you, they knew the things that they didn't take seriously when they were you. When they were you, they seen the people who surpassed them, but they refused to make adjustments to compete with those people when they were you. When they were you, they tried to define themselves by the same things within the actual environment that didn't work out for those group of people, and they knew damn well better, but it was damn easy to do so when they were you. They knew how much so called clout that they would get out of making sure that you never made it to the actual level of productivity within the environment. They wanted to make sure that you would never do that until it only benefited them when they were you. They knew it. They know it now. But they love their ability to be able to push things into the road rather than make the road wider so that way more people can move through. They don't care about giving you a better life. They care about letting themselves off the hook because they failed in life. That's the two sides of this coin. Women are not supposed to be guiding younger women into better options than they could actually have on their own accord. That's the way most women think within society. But when men start to emulate women in the actual society of guiding you into abject failure, so that way you'll never reach your maximum level of masculinity within the same environment, they're trying to protect something. They're trying to protect the status quo. But they can't protect the status quo by themselves. They need your failure so the status quo can work. Your failure is going to help them get off the field without being booed by anybody who realize the moment they look at the scoreboard, we're at halftime and the score is 49 to nothing. You gave up seven scores, but they want to get off the field before they actually let you know what the actual score is. And this is how you were supposed to feel. Let me give you an avenue or door into how you were supposed to feel as the future failure of tomorrow. As a future failure of tomorrow, you're supposed to lose hope that you can get out of this stuff by practicing the other things that people have practiced within their own environment. You were supposed to run back into the community because you could not compete on a level and scale that the world respects. You were supposed to give your youth and vitality to a person that is not worth it as your actual verification of masculinity. You were not supposed to question the people around you about why they're still there, even though you feel lost yourself. You were never supposed to ask questions like that. And finally, you were supposed to look at short term gain as something so effective that you would forego your entire future over something that is completely forgettable and commit a crime. And law enforcement, can you guess the people who actually turned those people in? Those people who quote unquote did everything for the hood and the community? It was people in the community themselves. As soon as there was a better Section 8 place open on a different part of town that they wanted to live in, or as soon as there was an actual reward given for giving you up, that was supposed to be your future. Instead, you reached out to better people like myself who forewent all of that. You have to understand that in life, calling in reinforcements is the greatest thing that you can do. Admit that you don't know how to do something is the greatest thing that you, even at 20, admitting that you need help and then actually going to the proper people to get the actual assistance that you need to get back on track, that's some of the greatest stuff that you can possibly learn. Most people don't learn that until they hit rock bottom. After they didn't serve the prison sentence, after they've been used and abused, and now they know the whole story, after they didn't serve 15 or 20 years in prison, about how the community used them, about how the OGs are still alive. I'll be a damn fool and a damn liar if I tell you that I didn't have to reach out for help, even today. Sometimes, man, feeling lost is what's going to make you want to find the best answers to questions. You know what's not going to do that? Acting like you have this shit all under control, even though you think you're not even going to look through all the other things. But again, you need to ask yourself, why would they not give you this basic information? Because this basic information is the source of their greatest failure. And they actually think that you're going to be a better person the moment you experience and exhibit the same amount of failure that they have experienced within the same environment. There is nothing wrong with the way that you feel. I feel that way all the time, even at this level. Sometimes, man, I get off the phone, I have no idea who to turn to. But at this point in time, you spend it trying to find the best and the most correct and the most accurate answer. And that's how you correct these problems of the past. The reason why they feel comfort at the bottom is because they never risked anything and they got the reward of not trying. Any type of thing that they've received within the environment without making a sufficient amount of sacrifice and they were validated with the actual success of whatever it is, no matter how small, that's the type of stuff that traps you at the bottom. But if you stay in the game long enough and if you keep moving up the ladder, you're going to have less people around you. Then you realize that your own words, your own productivity matters more than someone else's opinion. You have to understand that most people within this environment, the highest thing that they can achieve is an actual woman thinking that they're worthwhile. Because a lot of people want to be worthwhile without putting the work in. This is why they want to be high value without actually providing value to actual society. It's still based on this scavenger mentality where someone else is going to make the kill and I'm going to be the hyena who's going to come over in a pack and take the kill away from the guy who actually put all the work in. That's what this is about. But you have to recognize, think about it. Why aren't 50-year-olds in other cultures talking about women that they don't want to date? How come they're not doing that? How come those individuals are not trying to promise those women your future? Because actual other cultures that actually function and work, they would never allow their younger individuals to have any sort of access toward these type of individuals. Right, AJ? Probably have an answer, man. Because see, this is where the real work is at. The real work of the man of spirit is with your progress. Your progress is what powers the man of spirit. Right now, the man of spirit is powered about stagnation. But after the cameras turn off and after the OBS is closed out, the things you actually do outside of these conversations, that's where the real growth happens. And you can even lie about it, like most people do. Even at 20, you're far ahead of 75% of people within this culture. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm sorry that that's the way it is. Just think about once you start graduating and start to move up, how these people are going to try to make it look like failure is so normal that you need to be down here with us. Why would you want to leave us behind? This is why I told you to tell me, who do you listen to? Who are you following? What are they actually talking about? Because the truth is simple. It doesn't take that much to adjust to, but you got to stop thinking that there's a shortcut on the way to the top. Because those shortcuts turn into long cuts pretty fast. There's nothing wrong with being the first of many. There's nothing wrong at all. I was prepared to be the first of many. I had parents who didn't give a damn about me being better than them. They expected that based on the vision that I was looking at and their upbringing and their actual history. That's what they expected. But you have to understand that your people is based on mind state and mind frame, not skin color. Skin color is something that you don't get to choose. But the people who you associate with, that's all the people who you get to choose. They want to put so much on your plate to where so much on your plate is a normal frame of reference for which you operate. And I'm gonna tell you up front, like I tell everybody else who's young, any person who come in with the ability to tell you that they got these women figured out is somebody else's experience who you shouldn't be following altogether. You have to realize that they're here to help them win. You have to realize that they're here to help them have power over you. That's what they're here to do. But see, they're not going to sacrifice themselves. This is why there's no proof of the things that you see. They're not going to sacrifice themselves, they're going to sacrifice you. Yeah, good for you, Charles Keys. Yeah. Because see, the realistic information in the manosphere that can be taught cannot be taught by the failures of yesteryear. They want you to feel validated by relationship conversations where you could just dodge the specific person. Because all these people can't be stagnating at the top or at the bottom unless they practice a specific type of failure within the environment that didn't work. Yeah, I'm at home. I was going to drive up to the mountains, but apparently you still can't see them because there's a storm on the western edge of the city. So I just want to tell you guys, man, that you are a hell of a lot far more ahead than you think you are. You have to separate from these people. The conversation within this space has been separated between two groups of people, and I couldn't be happier about it. I wish everybody the same level of success was actually talking about that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the manosphere is about what you practice in the background after all this stuff is all. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I got to be able to roll out because I want to enjoy myself at home on the man tomorrow. You guys have a really nice day. Share this stuff to people who it actually can be affected by it or the people who you think can't. Have a nice one.